So far in this sermon series, we've been digging into vision. We've been digging into vision and asking ourselves the tough questions of what and why and how and what does it look like and where are we going. In fact, the big question was, we need a new vision, don't we? But why do we need a new vision? What are we here for? Do we understand the mission that is behind us and that is pushing us? But it matters. Why? Because we're heirs. We're invested in this. This is our journey. This is our mission as well as God's mission. It's the same mission. We've answered how we do it, and we've talked about how we all have different gifts, but one mission. Last week we talked about it's not just about the destination. And even in men's small group again this morning, it kind of came up that we kind of get so fixated on the destination sometimes that we forget to enjoy the journey. We forget to see what God's doing along the way in the journey. This passage to me, it digs a little bit. It challenges just a little bit. It says, you have need of endurance. You may receive what's promised. Yet for a little while, though, the coming one will come and will not delay, but my righteous shall live by faith. And then this next part's kind of a challenge. It says, and or but, if he shrinks back, my soul has no pleasure in him. Have you ever just run up against a wall? I've even preached this kind of sermon and talked about salmon going upstream and talked about what it's like when you hit that barrier, that wall, and just shrink back and say, yeah, I just don't have it in me. I don't have it in me today. What's it look like when we come up against that wall? Are we ones who will shrink back? Or are we ones who say, the vision is out there and I've got to get there, I've got to get to that final destination. And you know what? It's not even about the destination, or it's not about the barrier. It's about, hey, this might encourage me to go around the long loop. Or hey, this might allow me to get a jump into the air and see something differently. This passage is about faith. It says, my righteous ones shall live by faith. Have you ever asked yourself that question? Do I qualify as a righteous one? Do I qualify as one who lives by faith? Is God going to not have pleasure in me because I've shrunk back? There's some challenging questions in this. And then I began to think, well, what does it look like to be one who is righteous, one who lives by faith? Well, if we understand faith, as we've even talked about it in this sermon series, we understand that faith is about the opposite of doubt. Even though doubt is a part of faith, it's still the opposite because it's constantly seeing past the doubt and persevering through the doubt. Faith is something that calls us to action, doesn't leave us just sitting stagnant, comfortable. It never leaves us comfortable, always pushes us to the next thing. Faith doesn't require answers, but it embraces the questions. Faith is a light of a distant future. Maybe something we haven't claimed yet, but it's a light, a hope for something not yet realized. Talk about vision. We've been talking about vision for the past month. Anybody tired of talking about vision yet? I hope not. Because the vision is what we're called to do and who we're called to be. So how does faith play into vision in the deeper sense of where God is leading us? Faith is believing that God has something greater out there. Faith is something that pushes us to that place. And vision is founded in our missional purpose. Vision of what it means to be Christ in community, to live into our mission statement, to radically love our neighbor, to compassionately serve the hurting, to persistently seek the lost. Maybe I should say that again. Part of living into our vision is radically loving our neighbor, compassionately serving those who are hurting, and persistently seeking the lost. Will we persevere even when we run into a barrier? Or will we shrink back because it's just not convenient at the time? Andrew Jackson, he had a childhood friend who just never understood, how did this guy become president? He's like, Andrew Jackson, there was nothing really special about him. I mean, he never really was that much. In fact, he really wasn't the smartest guy on the street at all. And in fact, he said he would lose at wrestling 3 out of 4 matches. 3 out of 4 matches. And his friend asked him, so why would somebody wrestle the 4th one? Isn't it, 3 matches? And that he said, yeah, but Andrew Jackson wouldn't stop until he won. Until he wore somebody out so much. Until he persevered, until he completed what he thought was his objective. Are we able, when we feel like pushed down, when we feel beat up, when we feel like we've lost the battle, are we able to say, no, one more time? No, I'm going to push through one more time. To preserve our souls. The word to preserve in the Greek actually has this reference of persevering, which is why I misspoke it even in the text, because I was already thinking that. To persevere, to persevere, to see through until you possess something or acquire something, obtaining something to which has been your goal. So what does it mean to persevere? And in this passage, as you pull it apart, it says, those who have faith and preserve their souls, or persevere to attain and hold on to that, in fact, which is by living by faith. This month, we've been talking about visioning and seeing the goals and not giving up. We've been talking about what it looks like, and we've been visioning together. We've been meeting. We've had small group discussions, talkbacks on Saturday nights. We've had a meeting at New Hope, and then we've pulled together a bunch of things, and you guys have all got those sheets in front of you. We've prayed over them. We've shared in discussion, dreamed, documented, which is what's there. We've visioned for this year, and we visioned for the next 5 years. And I'm going to warn you, on those sheets, which should be 3, one in front, one on back, and an additional one. If you don't have them all, talk to me afterwards. There'll be changes on those. There'll be some things that get accomplished, some things that don't. But I think it's a fabulous dream, a huge vision, and things that I believe we are called to and we can complete. This is a vision that needs all hands on deck. It needs everybody engaged and fully participating. It needs all of us saying, yes, this is my gift, and this is how I can serve and how I can make this happen. I want to be a part of this vision. It needs a mindset of perseverance. It needs a mindset of those who shall live by faith and will not shrink back. I want you to take a moment, just look at the papers that you've got in front of you. And I'm gonna even just touch on a few pieces of these, because I think I want to be talking about this in the large forum as well, because some of you weren't able to make it to some of the small group discussions or otherwise. Mark, if you're looking for them, they're over by Dawn. I think they're still stacked over there. At least that's where Charity had them. Yep. End of 2016 and end of 2020. I want to just warn you, first of all, the things that are here on the top section there, these are not only pretty doable, but the honest truth is, if we all engaged in certain things, we'd already be at the goals we've got set for 2020. And the truth is, when we have, those who are doing H2Go, they know that when we have, I was going to say, there's 15 kids out there tonight. They know we've already got that on a nightly basis. They know that we've got twice that we can have 30 kids on a weekend already. I'm saying we are so close to already completing these and headed to the next. And all it's going to take is that commitment, that push, that extra invite from each of you. The small groups, we've already got 2 small groups. We've got, in fact, we kind of just started a new one. The men's small group met this morning, and that's off to a good start. They'll be meeting again in 2 weeks if you're interested. Talk to myself, talk to Patrick, who's out over there. We'd love to see any other guys get together with us 2 weeks from today. Youth ministry, we're looking at a couple ideas for ways that we can actually be involved with some community kids that don't have any other place. Local mission projects, we're already doing a lot of those through Habitat and other things. Those things are in place. International mission, Camp Dodge integration, I've got somebody working specifically on some of those things. New worship and small opportunities. We've talked about doing things not just here, but possibly at Chapel Ridge or at a restaurant or some other things that we might be engaging in. When it comes to 2020, I just want to make sure you know there are some things that we think we could be well beyond all these numbers. But we think these numbers are very, very attainable. Part of my struggle on sometimes visioning is it's easy for us to vision what we think we can do on our own. We sometimes limit God because what God often wants to accomplish is twice as much as what we even put down on paper. So I would challenge you, don't limit these numbers, but dream that God has got these things in hand and they could be even bigger. Some of the strengths that were listed, these are huge. Greeting of new people, outgoing. I love the fact that great huggers, David, we got a few of those. Outreach, part of one of our gifts that people continue to say is because we don't have a building, we are actively doing outreach that not many other churches are doing. And that's very real. Energized church, passion for the mission, great small groups, H2Go kids, and this is feedback from parents, teachers, and kids. Close-knit family. People, you know what? I have people tell me here that I get to know my church family, and I know that they miss me when I'm not there, and I know that they love me and care about me. And I just invite you guys, that's who we intend to be. And it's all about how much you choose to get involved. That is a huge strength. The things that we need to address or that we know we need to continue to grow in. One of the biggest ones, how do we sustain, how do we grow? Well, you're going to hear me talk more about that, stepping into the vision. Needing more volunteers, and there's lots of ways to do that. Praise team, H2Go, set up all kinds of other options that are there, and that's listed on the card a little bit. How to grow and expand the mission. The best way to grow something that is already good is to invite somebody who would benefit. Invite somebody who's got some kids who don't have a program that they can call their own. Invite a family or who's going through either life struggles or just needs a place to feel like they can fit and other people that care about them. Talks about the youth stuff in there, talks about small groups, talks about how we can continue to be that place that makes people feel welcome. Something we are working on. Because some of you are still, I know that when you're greeting each other, you're still like, I don't know too many people yet. That's okay. Part of the struggle is we have people who come on Saturday or Sunday, and we're working on trying to get a digital directory. We've got names, but we're going to try and get pictures. So hopefully you guys will consent to let us do some pictures, and we'll have some of those to hand out so you guys can get to know each other a little bit better. We want to make that available to you guys. This next whole page, that's dreams. This is exciting. And if you're not excited about some of this, maybe I shouldn't say it, but you might be in the wrong place because I want you to be excited. This is a great list for a church of our size to be saying, we're doing these things and we're making them happen. I invite you just to look through those. Just because it's not on this list, I would also tell you, I am always open to new ideas. But we've got some ideas for small groups, for art engagement opportunities. We've got some things that were brought up by some of the kids. We definitely want to engage in some teen suicide outreach and prevention. We've got some things in place that are being developed for that. With our goals of 200 to 300 in worship in the next 5 years, the trick is, well, actually, if each one of you invite somebody next week, well, we'll be there in a month. And I think you can easily tell them how much you love church and what it does for you. One of the guys in small group this morning said, we're new yet. We've only been coming a few months, but you know what? This church, I feel at home. I feel safe. I feel like God's working and renewing my spirit into a place that I haven't been in a long time. And he says, and I told somebody just this week, that's all it takes. We talked about identify points of entry. How can you get involved for people who are new and want to be more involved? And I'm going to get to that a little bit further down the road. This summer, we are looking at all kinds of opportunities for extra worship or social gatherings. You notice February 19th, there's a family game night. Gives you an opportunity to get to know people a little bit more, just be social. Chapel Ridge. The river cleanup idea. We've got this, I'm just going to touch on this real briefly. This came up at one of the meetings this last week. We are planning a July, what we call a big give, which we did last year and kind of just got it kicked off. Did a few projects in town, worked on a few homes, helped a few people get some things refurbished. This year, we're targeting out a little bit further, looking for more homes or more families that need a little help, and we're going to put together a list, and then we're going to have regular work days any of you can participate in. One of those days we're going to look at working with the community, Parks and Rec in the city to put together a walk where we actually walk Beaver Creek, clean up both sides and get things picked up and invite the community to join us, have a meal afterwards. That's going to be part of our big give back to the community. I'm excited about that. That should be an awesome opportunity. We're going to talk a little bit more about some opportunities for MOPS or mothers with preschoolers or children or just gathering those families together. Worship in the park was brought up, empowering everyone, outreach to the shut-ins, meals for newborns, and in fact, I've got a quilt that's supposed to go to Armstrong's, and they're not here this week for me to give it to them. There it is. But something that we put together for mothers, for parents of newborns is a quilt with you guys all get to draw something on the quilt blanket. And if you want to look at that afterwards, you can look at it, but they weren't here for me to give it to. So do more with Hopkins Grove. And interestingly enough, Hopkins Grove said the same thing when visioning, do more with Johnston. So, that's an awesome opportunity that I think we've got. Financial peace, all kinds of really good ideas. We've, even dreaming about building, no building, what does that look like? And I think that's going to have to be a continual revision. Part of me, I love not having to be tied down to something like that. But there are benefits different ways. So, the last page, we had people that asked for these pieces, and I'm putting them in front of you. Some of the needs, we talked about just doing an ongoing needs list. What are things that we try and make happen? There, the H2Go Kids treasure chest out there needs restocking once in a while because the kids love it so much. If you want to pick up some kids' toys or find something on sale that you think the kids would love, go ahead and get it and bring it in and donate it to the treasure chest so we can keep that stocked for the kids. Praise team tablets, and Bill's got a lot of these things itemized and more thought put into exactly what they're looking at. So if you're looking for details, talk to Bill. Some other things are listed there that we need. The keyboard is one of those that actually Jody and I have. It's like 25 years old now. Still using our equipment, but it's something that we want you to be thinking about. We've had people ask, what can I give? How can I be supportive of just some of the needs? We're going to make a list, and as things come up, we're going to continue to just kind of add to those and invite you to participate however you want. Here's the big one. We want everybody to feel like you can be involved. There's a sign up for the cookies, for the treats, and people love doing that, and trust me, we all like you doing that. But we also have other needs, and those things are listed, be a greeter out at the front or inside here, or be somebody who wants to read Scripture. And I've got a few people who've talked to me about that already. Hospitality, the tech crew. Bill went through extra effort to do a little bit of training of Dave and just kind of, there's a lot to set up. every week and tear down every week. And we realized next week, Bill's going to be gone, and I'm going to be gone. So there's going to be a few people. If you come in and they're still putting things together, you can pray for them. Or you can show up a little early and say, hey, I want to learn this and help too. So that's always an option. Or if you want to help with PowerPoint or the web page or anything like that, we need to know that those are your gifts or passions, things that you want to do. Help with the kids, help with community events, music team, the ambassador or extrovert team. If you're an extrovert and want to talk to people, let me know, because I would love to give you a few assignments. And if your passion is unlisted, mention it to me, because there's always something out there for you. And quite honestly, here's the truth. I believe God calls us together as a team for the very purpose and using the gifts that we have so that we can fulfill the vision together. But we need to use everybody's gifts. So it might be scary, but if you mention your gift to me, you probably find yourself using it in a matter of a month. This card, this just continues our vision and opportunities. I want you to take just a few moments right now, put your name on there. We've forgotten this in the past, even for offering tithes and commitments to pledges, and we forget to put names on there, and we're like, well, we don't know who committed to do that. Boy, that's bad. But put your name on there. Put anything that you're listed in, or gifts or things that you want to do. And if there's something that's not listed on there, feel free to write it down below. On the back, one of the visions that inspire me. Take something from one of these pages that really jumped out at you. Something that you really want to be engaged in. Write that down. Something God's been placing on your heart, or a question that you have. Someone that you'd like to invite. You can write somebody's name down there. Say, God's been laying this person on my mind. I'm going to write their name down. Make it a commitment so that when you come up and place your offering in the offering plate, you're saying, Lord, I'm committing to this, and I'm offering this. I'm going to invite this person, this friend or neighbor that I know would benefit in a way that you would like to get involved. Fill as much out of that as you're comfortable with, and make this part of your offering tonight. Realizing that we ourselves are a part of the offering. God has given himself. He gave his only son to us. Part of the offering we give is to give ourselves back. So I encourage you, take a moment and fill that out. We're going to move into communion. And I think we can't really partake in communion until we understand the gifts, the grace, the love of God that is poured out upon us. I don't think we can understand the vision that God has for our life and to use us for his glory until we take of the very body and blood of Jesus Christ and realize that it's through this grace that God has given us the gifts that we have. It's through this grace that he's called us into relationship with him and into this church so that we can fulfill his vision. To me, this has been an exciting sermon series, and I love bringing this together this way, making it very tangible, very real, and a part of not just the pastor's job, but this is something we've all committed to. What does it look like?